You're tuned in to Tusks and Tales, the podcast that brings you the grit, the dogs, and the chase. Today's episode is powered by our sponsors, HardcoreHogDogs.com. Premium gear built for the hunt. Use code Tusks and Tales with Mr. Michael Spieler. Next up is Boars N Broads. Lifestyle and apparel for those who live the hunt. Save with code TNT at checkout. To Be Hog Dogs, two brothers, one passion. Family, tradition, and hog dogs. A&M Kennels, a husband and wife team turning their passion into a legacy. This is Tusks and Tales. Let's get started. Hello, y'all. Welcome to Tusks and Tales. Today we got a guy. It's going to be a little different, but it's still hog hunting. You know, everything's hog hunt related on this right now. But he's going to help me answer a lot of questions for a lot of people that might be misinformed on some certain stuff. So this gentleman we got on here, I've spoke with him. I've talked to him multiple times. And when I say intelligent regarding Game-Bred dogs, he is very, very intelligent. He knows the ins and outs on it. I mean, I'm sure one of y'all out there are going to be like, well, I know this guy knows more, this guy knows more. I'm speaking from a guy that I have personally talked to and heard how he talks about it, and it's just very knowledgeable. It's not scattered everywhere. He kind of keeps it on track about what he's talking about and what exactly he's I guess, he explains it very well is what I'm trying to get at. Now, with that being said, guys, I do have a few announcements I need to make. Once again, I appreciate everything everybody's been doing. Now we're officially on YouTube now, guys. Subscribing, liking, commenting, all that goes a long ways. Y'all don't have to pay to listen to these podcasts, not just for me, but even Dixie Doggers or Houndsman XP. Y'all give us a like, a share, a follow. That's all we ask you to do. You have to do it one time. That's it. And it helps us quite a bit. 99.3% on my analytics of the people that listen to me do not follow. So that's a lot. Now with the YouTube thing, please just click subscribe. That's all I'm asking you to do. You don't have to listen to the podcast on YouTube. Just subscribe to it. We're going to be putting out we're going to be trying to put out some video content as well. We're in the makes of that. That should be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Now, everybody that has reached out on the headlamps, I got to cover that. I've had a bunch of y'all reach out about the headlamps. I've already made some, and I got them out. I'm going to try to do a bulk order and make multiples of them. They're on the cheaper side, like I said, and I guarantee my stuff. Now, if it's clearly your fault, send it back and I'll try to help you fix it for a reasonable amount. But, there's I'm not going to write down no contract that states, oh, if this, I'll cover all this. No, just reach out to me if you're having issues with it and I'll make it right with you. I'm not trying to make money off this. All you're pretty much paying is the shipping and the material cost. I'm putting them together for y'all, and if they do, right now it's just like a trial deal. For everybody that's buying them, you're getting them at the cheap price you are, because I'm trying to see if they work the same way they do for everybody else. Just to let y'all know, when I started talking this over a month ago, we just got my new charger back in to be able to charge my my headlamp, and it still held a charge just fine. I mean, I use it every single night, whether I'm feeding dogs or if I'm in the woods, and it stays on for a long time. So the charge has been awesome. People have asked about extra batteries. I can make all that happen. Please reach out to me. Again, if you've reached out regarding the headlamps and I have not got you one yet, I have sent a good majority out that I have made, but now I'm going to do a bulk order so I can get some more sent out. And so far, everybody's liking them. I'm going to release the name of it. We're going to call them Hog Turnals. I just come up with a name for them just so people can reference saying this is what it is. I custom make it clear from the bump cap itself to the battery, to the wire going to the light. And I do that all hand, by me specifically. So I want everybody to be clear on that. This ain't just something I've had people reach out, well, can I just buy one off Amazon? You can't, because I'm building these. And I built it, like I said, specifically for hog hunting. There's nothing wrong with the other lights out there, as in, I'm not degrading anybody's lights out there, but I've ripped them off. I've ripped the lights off. The swivel just loosens up. I believe, in my opinion, that I've fixed all of the problems I was running into. Sure, if you get stuck in a thicket or a vine, it's still going to come off your head. It's not glued to your head, but I believe I've made it to where it's a lot more secure on the head. I made the swivel, a little bit better. The only downfall is I do not have any lasers on my lights. I don't have the green and red dot laser, but I do have I got 3 regular white light settings, and then a red, yellow, red, amber, and green. So you get 6 different light features. And like I said, the battery is astronomical. My personal one, the dogs have tried chewing through the cable. I put a special cable wrapping around the actual wires that go to the headlamp, to secure from getting cut up in thickets, cut up in, running into trees. Guys, I put some time into kind of creating this stuff for myself. So if you're wanting a very reliable headlamp, reach out to me. I've had a couple people reach out about the vest. If you want a vest, I'll custom make, or I'll put a vest together for you. That's going to be the kind of stuff I'm going to cover in these future videos. Once again, those headlamps, if you've reached out to me, I haven't got you one out yet, please reach back out to me again, and I will get you taken care of. Now, with all that being said, guys, the analytics are going through the roof. We're doing great. I couldn't be more thankful. Y'all, just the positivity from y'all, man. We've had like one negative person, and they're from your neck of the woods too, by the way, Mr. Devyn. Yeah, it don't surprise me at all. Now, with that being said, I'm going to let this gentleman go ahead and introduce himself. Kind of tell us where you're from as well, please, and talk about both sets of dogs. Just brush over them real quick, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. So my name's Devyn Looney. I'm up from Durham, Oklahoma. I own Black Dirt Kennels and Black Dirt APBPs. I run some plot cur cross dogs that some guys around here ran up for 15, 20 years. I looked into them. Like I said, I've ran them for the last 3 to 4 years. I've had really, really good luck making them. Do what I need them to do. And like I said, they produce hogs, and they no sign cast dogs get yonder by themselves with a company, whatever you need them to do. They'll do it. And that's basically all I run right now. Like I said, I got a couple pups that are 10, 11 months old right now, finding hogs by themselves. That's a big part of it too, is finding dogs that are smart enough and have to go to them at a young age to do what they need to do. That's something you don't find very often. As far as the game dogs go, I've always had game dogs. Grew up with them when I was a kid, and then hog hunting. Tried some other dogs for a while, didn't like them, and got some game dogs, and pretty much that's all she wrote from there on. That's all I've kept, and that's all I've used personally.
Okay. Yeah, so, you mentioned in there, we'll cover these real quick, and then we'll get real into depth what everybody's looking forward to. But I do want to cover this just for, the newcomers that are still listening. They're loving it. Now, your plot crosses. Do you have a specific line that the plot and the cur side come from? Or if, if it's just some local stuff that they're not, they've been breeding it for years, that's understandable. But do you have anything off the top of your head that you could kind of inform them of on your plot and cur crosses?
Man, there's not much I can tell you besides these. The original line, like I said, they started this line 15, 20 years ago, and they've kept it going. And there's several guys around here that have them. Like I said, I hunted with several dogs out of this line for years before I even got any of them. And every single one I've seen was just one of those dogs that you'd love to own.
Okay.
Like I said, I can't think of a certain line they're out of or nothing. Said they were breeding these long before I got into the game.
That's awesome. I mean, there's, some people just, I know multiple people that are like, well, I get a plot hound from this guy and this guy only, and he's been breeding plots for this many years. And he really probably couldn't even tell you, but they do look really good. They look like them old-time plot hounds. They just never were interested in really keeping track of papers or anything. And there's nothing wrong with that at all, guys, at all whatsoever. You know, I've covered before, like, make sure if you're, you know, people out there, the plot hound and the cur dog is very loosely used, and I'm sure Mr. Devyn can kind of vouch for this. People will say, oh, this is a plot. You can look at a dog and tell if it's a plot. You know, I've had people reach out, if you got a question thinking it's a plot, you know, I can tell by the structure of a dog, by looking at it, if it's a plot. The mouth gives it away a lot, the ears, the legs. There's a lot of different features that'll give stuff like that away. So if you have questions, you know, regarding what you think it may be, then reach out to me, and I will gladly help you out. No problems at all. But with that being said, now, Mr. Devyn, you mentioned in there, or do you have anything you would like to cover on that?
Man, it's like you said, you know, everybody says I got this or that, and a lot of times you get lied to on what you're getting, just so somebody can sell a puppy or get rid of a dog they don't want. You know, you got to really do your research on the people and really hunt behind the dogs before you get a dog from somebody you don't know, and make sure it's exactly what you want before you bring it to your house. And that's a step a lot of people miss. You know, they just go pick up a dog and they just bring it home and hope for the best. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it right and actually see some dogs out of that line, actually see the dogs hunt, and talk to several people who had the dogs and see how they really produce and how they turn out. And that's, like I said, it's a simple step that most people just skip right over just so they're in a rush or they're not patient enough to find the right stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So then, I mean, that's really going to kind of go into our next topic. I really wanted to just touch on that a little bit. I like people to talk about their bay dogs, and we'll jump in and out of it here in just a minute as well. But, you know, big one everybody's wanting to talk about, and I kind of want you to take the reins and just go with it, and I might chime in and ask a few questions here and there about it. But you're a successful game dog guy. Now, can you kind of start out, explain? I have listeners in states that don't even have hog hunting, so the people that are listening probably right now are kind of confused on game. Can you explain to them what game dog is, and give us a synopsis of that?
Yes, sir. Well, the term game dog, you know, it's originated with the American Pit Bull Terrier. You know, that's when they used them back, you know, in the early 1900s, you know, even before they were still in Scotland and Ireland and England, you know, they were bull baiting, bear baiting in the pits fighting. You know, and that's a term that just stuck with them throughout the century, you know. And that's a big part of it, too, that everybody hears, you know, game dogs, you know, all they associate them with is fighting.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not the case. And yeah, there's a bunch of them that, you know, they are animal aggressive. But, you know, when the hands of the right person and the man who knows how to handle them, they're very manageable if you have the time and the patience to deal with them.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it's the old term that's used. Like I said, I wish there's a better term for it other than what it is, but it's just a term that's been around since they're putting them in the pits and what they were doing with them when they originally started breeding dogs.
And I mean, can you touch as well, since, I mean, you're clearly successful with the with your game-bred dogs. Can you touch real quick base with everybody on actually how hard it is to, not just how hard, how many people are watching over your shoulder. Every time you turn around, there's somebody watching what you're doing just because you are known as a game dog breeder?
Yes, man. It's a hard thing to deal with. Like I said, I'm used, you know, having my cur dogs. I don't have to think about nothing. When I decided to start raising my own bulldogs and help people out who need them, you know, just raise good stock. So having good stock and being able to do all that, it takes quite a bit of dogs to build a program, you know. So when you start having that many dogs in it, especially pit bulls and stuff in that general senses, you know, people really start paying attention to what you're doing. You know, and for me personally, I don't like seeing my dogs sit on chains. You know, if I'm not hunting them, I want my dogs to be doing something. So if I'm taking my dogs up the street for a walk, or I'm letting them run on a treadmill, just get some energy out and keep them in shape and keep them, you know, for endurance purposes and cardio purposes, it's something that people stop and look at, and, you know, the wrong person get the idea exactly what, you know, they assume I'm fighting dogs. And that's just a big problem that we face having game dogs, is we can't work them out the way we want to. We can't do certain things with them. Is, you know, 80%. So them dogs, you know, if they're not conditioned right and they're not worked out, they gas out pretty quick and they get tired and they'll stroke out on you. So the big thing is if you can exercise them, keep them moving throughout the hot months, just keep them working, you won't have many heads to deal with, you know, when you decide it's time to hunt.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, so how do you maintain that without, like, anybody bothering you nonstop? I mean, do you just,
You know, I'm pretty lucky. I don't have very many neighbors around my place. You know, nobody up here tends to mind their own business and just wave when they see you or just keep driving by. But, you know, I've had people stop and ask, you know, what's your purpose of these dogs? Like, well, I'm a hog hunter. You know, I try to explain to them, I've been doing this since I was 10, 11 years old. You know, I've had bulldogs on and off, except I've had a bunch of dogs I never really liked. And when I got a few game dogs I did like, that's what I was stuck with, you know. And I was like, these dogs, you know, they have a bad breath, you know, their history behind them and what they originally bred for, you know. So I kind of educate them a little bit, tell them, like, look, they're more than just what they're used for back in the day. They're a multi-purpose dog. You know, whether in the house, guarding the yard, you know, hunting, bike work dogs, you know, they can do anything you want them to as long as you put the time and energy into them. They'll make whatever you want them to make.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. So, can you kind of get into, you know, because you use them mainly for catch dogs on hogs. So,
yes.
Could you kind of touch base, you know, what age you're starting them at? Or, you know what, actually, let's go back to that. Can you kind of tell them the bloodlines and stuff that you personally own? And, you know, talk about your puppies, you know, what you all got kind of on your yard.
Well, my yard, you know, is based off the Floyd Boudreaux's Eli dogs. You know, he's from down there in Lafayette, Louisiana. I think he just turned 91 last week. You know, he's been doing it since 60s, 70s. You know, he's an old school man. And that's what my yard's based off of, is the Eli dogs and some of his dogs that he sent to Mexico. That got refined in Mexico. And I got some dogs that go back to a son of Eli, which is the Bullison dog. And that's what I keep on my yard. I keep the Eli dogs, the Cardenas T-Bud dogs, which go back to Eli, and then the Bullison dogs, which are back to a son of Eli.
Okay.
And then I have a Jip up here that's pretty much, she's got the Bullison in her, and then she's a Fontenot's Booger dog, which goes back to some old Red Boy dogs, and they're refined in Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, they crossed that, and it's a good outcross to have on these dogs. Like I said, I got a litter of pups out of her and a pure Boudreaux male. They just turned they'll be 6 weeks old on Saturday. And then I got a pup. Like I said, I had a litter about 3 months ago out of some dogs out of that same kind of stuff and a old family red-nosed Eli Jip. And I ended up giving all the pups to some guys who just needed puppies to race so they can hunt, because they're having a hard time finding dogs. I said, look, man, I ain't going to charge you nothing. You know, just come up to the house, we'll find you a pup. And I ended up placing 8 of the 9 puppies, just people that needed dogs to hunt. I got one for myself that's here. I've got another guy wanting one so bad, I'm probably going to send her to him as well, just because I would rather him see somebody have one that needs them and is going to appreciate them more than, you know, just me having them in my yard. Yeah,
yeah. So you're saying you probably don't have anything available right now then if someone were interested in looking, or?
Right now, like I said, I'm in the process right now of trying to build the program up the way I want it. Like I said, I'll have a litter or 2 coming up. Like I said, we just brought a new stud dog in not but a week or so ago that a buddy of mine had. And I got a female coming that was given to me by a guy in Louisiana. He just can't keep her. So I said, hey, man, you can have her. You know, if she meets my criteria on what a dog should be, I'll have a litter out of them, and they will be heavy Eli dogs. Well, pretty much pure Eli dogs with the Mexican side as an outcross.
Okay.
And they will be everything you'll ever want in a bulldog, probably more than most people can handle if they don't know how to handle a good dog.
Yeah. So, like you heard, y'all, not necessarily anything right now, but I mean, if you're the right person or something, you think you can potentially have conversation with this guy. I mean, he might be able to help you out in the future. Mr. Devyn's a great guy. I've personally worked with, done business with Devyn, and he was a great guy. I know he takes care of his yard for 110% fact. If you follow him on anything, you see he's always working his dog. So everything he's saying here is it's not just making up some bull crap. You know, he's not one that just sticks them on a real heavy chain and hopes that they, you know, grow some muscle. I'm sure he does supplements for him. I mean, he's the real deal. If you just do a little research on him, you can find out quickly that his main focus, probably other than his kids, is his dogs. So, I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn for you on that, but, I mean, you do work with them dogs quite often.
Yes, sir. So I don't believe in letting the dog sit on a chain. I don't.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a kennel, a chain, I don't care if it's 8 weeks old or if it's 8 years old. It's going to be doing something.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big part of it, too, is everybody's like, well, it's too young to start doing this. I said, well, there's a lot of things you can do with a pup.
Yeah,
you know, if you want them to have a higher, like these dogs, you know, they're so high drive anyways, you know, they're going to look for something to terrorize. So if you can get out in the yard, just drag a piece of rope with a glove or a sock on it, let them chase it, let them bite on it, that's all the energy they need to get out, and that's going to exercise them, so teach them, you know, I can chase this and get this, I can get them set up for the future, what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, my young dogs, you know, the first 4 or 5 months of their life, all they do is, you know, they get outside, they get to run around the yard and play and socialize, and then I'll start doing my flirt work with them, getting to where they want to chase something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then by the time they're old enough and big enough to be able to use a treadmill, I'll stick them on there and let them run a treadmill for 2-3 minutes at a time every couple of days or maybe once a week, just till they're old enough and mature enough to where they can go to work and not wear themselves out too early.
Yeah.
And then by the time, you know, they're a year old or something, that's when I start really trying to fine-tune my handle on the dogs. Because I don't like a bulldog that's going to pull me to the ground. I don't like a bulldog that's going to be barking out the box as soon as here's a dog barking. You know, I want a dog that I can just let go out of the back of the truck and stay at my feet the whole time till I tell them to get in there.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing, you know, because I hunt by myself 90% of the time. And if I'm not, it's usually one other friend or my little boy that goes with me. So having a good, solid bulldog, you know, that has a good handle on it, that's smart and understands, hey, there's a time to turn it on, there's a time to turn it off. That is key when you're hunting with young kids and people have never been around it. If you have a dog you can't control, it's going to get somebody hurt down the road eventually. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but one day somebody's going to get hurt over a dog that you cannot control.
Yep. And I have already heard about it. I mean, I have, you know, a kid accidentally sticking their hand in a kennel. I've heard about stuff like that, and it's unfortunate, but guys, like you said, it does happen, and getting a handle on them is a huge part of it. I know, you know, and I'm sure you're aware of this as well, Mr. Devyn. A lot of people think, oh, it's just a catch dog. I mean, we're talking 85% of people.
Yeah.
I'm not even speaking out of turns. I've never really heard many people say, I want to take some time and work on my catch dog and make them right.
You know,
and then they're the first ones to complain in the woods when they got to walk. Man, I wish my dog would go in like yours and walk in and handle. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm still new to it, guys, and if I could figure that much out in a year and a half, I mean, I would look into that.
That's a big thing on it too, you know. Because everybody, you know, everybody says a catch dog's a dime a dozen. Well, I'm gonna tell you this: you can have the most high-powered running dogs in the country. You know, have the best bay dogs, bay up 100 head of hogs in a day if you wanted to. But if you ain't got the bulldog power to catch it, you're spinning your wheels. So saying a bulldog is a dime a dozen is pretty dang ignorant to say.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of bulldogs, you know, that that one might be worth, you know, a dime, but there's a bunch of them that I wouldn't feed one like that. You know, if it's going to be in my yard and I'm going to feed it, I'll make damn sure that it can do its job solo without having another dog to help it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you know, for my example, like kind of what I was referring to is that, and you covered it as well, is I can let, you know, my wife, I walked in actually this weekend, we had a bay, and I just handed the lead off, because we always carry leads, but I had it strapped to my bulldog, and I handed it to one of the guys that's never been hunting from Missouri and Colorado, or what, I don't remember which one I handed it to, and my wife come out and they're like, they were struggling. I said, you don't have to walk him with a lead. Well, they were trying to, you know, handle him with the lead, and my wife comes walking out, and she's like, Shiloh, here. Like, and my wife can handle the dog. She don't have to walk him on a lead anywhere. Anytime she goes in the woods, she don't go in the woods unless she has that dog with her. And my wife is, she's 8 months pregnant. She's telling that dog, hey, here, sit. Showing that it's actually got obedience,
Yes,
So
sir.
that's kind of a big thing, I would look at too on a dog is, will it have handle with someone else as well? Not just myself. Just because my wife does hunt with me a lot. Now, is that all you really had to cover on that? Because I do got a question outside of it. Well, it's not really
If you
outside
got a question,
of it.
I'll answer your question for you.
Yeah. We kind of missed over it a little bit. We asked if you had anything available. Now, can we get into like prices and why the prices are? I mean, we know it's going to offend everybody, but can we speak some sense into it?
All right, so I'll put it this way, everybody compares it to, a dog you get from the pound, or a dog you get just, you don't know anything about the dog, you just buy it for, $100, $200, $300 max, And that's where everybody thinks, a catch dog's a dime a dozen, because you get them so cheap at the pound or from some dude that you can't tell what it is. These dogs that I raise and a bunch of other men raise, we can check their pedigrees all the way back to the 1900s, early 1900s. We can tell you pretty much to an exact T of if we breed these dogs, what you're going to get. And that's something you can't do with the dogs, you get from the pound or you get from some dude's backyard. You can breed them dogs for 10 years and never get the same results. Yeah. And that's a big thing to me too is, I'm breeding dogs. I don't want to just throw money into dogs and hoping that, I'll get what I want out of them. My thing is if I'm going to have them, I'm going to spend the money on it. I want to make sure I get what I'm hoping for every single time. Yeah. So these dogs, like I said, their pedigree, I got papers on every single dog in the yard. It comes with a price to know what you're getting and know the quality of dog you're getting, to know what to expect out of them. But it's also a peace of mind knowing, hey, I spend the right amount of money for it. I'm probably going to get exactly what I'm hoping for, if not a little bit better dog than I was hoping for.
Yes.
You can go to somebody's backyard and get a $50 dog or a $100 dog and it not work out. You spend a year and a half feeding it for no reason.
Yeah.
Or you can go to a man's yard who's on top of his stuff and knows these dogs ins and outs, and you might spend, $1,000, $1,500. But 9 times out of 10, when he sends you home with a puppy, by a year old, you're happier than you can be with it. Mm-hmm. And if not, like I said, me personally, if I sell you a puppy, I have it in contract that, hey, if it don't work at a year old, as long as it's not a handler-induced problem, I will replace the dog and give you your money back until, just to make sure you're happy and make sure that nothing happens, to where no hard feelings are there,
Yep.
And a lot of people don't understand that part of it, and the price from these dogs, it comes from the quality and the time spent in them, and the decades spent raising these dogs before I even got them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got several dogs in my yard that have been DNA profiled and tested to know exactly, hey, I'm selling you exactly what I'm selling you, and I have the DNA to prove it. And that's not a cheap test to run. So when you factor all that in, it adds up. You're not including registration fees for each puppy. You're not including all the parvo shots, the vet checks, the good, high-quality feed I'm feeding them, all the supplements the mother gets from the time she gets bred while she's weaning and whelping pups up until the puppies are, 3 months old when I take them off the supplements.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that go into them dogs. And that's not, including if there's any complications like, coccidia, which I had to deal with on this oldest litter I had. We had a couple pups get coccidia. I go to the vet and get them fixed. It took 3 days to get them cured, but hey, it's worth every damn penny because, they're going to make dogs eventually. You got to put into your dogs what you want them to give you back.
Yeah, and Devyn, to piggyback off that, I love that you brought that up because I don't think I've ever said this. And I'm going to be kind of rude about it to everybody listening out there. If you don't like what he just said, do it yourself. If you don't like those numbers he talked about and everything he was saying, I'm big on keeping paper trails as well. And that's exactly why, by the way, Devyn, if I want to recreate something, I know what I need to go and find to recreate that. Everybody, papers, I wipe my ass with papers. But majority of those people are like, damn, man, I can't get a hold of a good dog anymore. I'm trying to breed everything under the sun. And it's just not happening. And, of course, I don't know all that yet. But I know that there has been people saying, they've had lines for years and now they can't get that back because they outcrossed to something random. And they don't have the ability to go find that, or whatever that dog come from. So when I tell people to go ahead and take it upon themselves and do it, find out how much of a headache it is. I mean, I've done the labs. Clearly, I've had good litters. I did the whole field trial stuff to make them look good. Kept a real good paper trail of everything. Now, when you start getting into that, I think 1,500 is still too low for a puppy. But majority of people, I want a game dog, I want a game dog, I want a game dog. Well, why don't you go spend the money on a male and a female? If you don't want to spend the money buying a pup, go find you a female and a male. You start breeding it, and then let us know what prices you would be throwing on them. Like, even though I think that's a respectable price, Mr. Devyn and all of them given out there, because of the time it does take to keep these dogs around. And the way game dog is so loosely used now, I see, all over social media, kids buying what they quote-unquote think they are game dogs just because of the way they look, and they're buying them. And you can know it's not a game dog bred, or it's not game dog lines if you're buying it for $100, or there's something really, really wrong with it.
And that's a big thing too. Is I seen one day on the way home from work. Good looking little jip. Guy says she's Game-Bred, wanting $100 for it. I said, man, I said, you can't be. And then somebody asked, what lines is it? It's got papers. He said, no line. That was on the bloodline on the papers. And buddy, I hate to tell you, but you don't have a game dog. You cannot consider yourself having an APBT without knowing the pedigree or having papers on it. Because all you're doing by then is just hoping that somebody told you the truth on the dogs. If you cannot prove it and show what your dog is, you cannot call APBT because there's no way to know. They said you can do a DNA test on the embarked stuff, but it's not accurate. They said the DNA testing that we do through the ADBA, which I'm a registered kennel through, it cost us between $125 to $200 per puppy just to do the DNA test, and then we have to do the parents as well. So if we do a whole litter, we're over $1,000 right there just in DNA testing.
Yes.
And that's not, like I said, not including nothing else with the registration. That's not including all the medications and parvo shots and dewormers and anything else that goes into the dogs. There's a lot that goes into it nobody really looks at. They just get mad about the prices. And they said, if you don't like them, like you said, Alan, go buy one.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you want a good 8 PVP male or female that's grown, you're going to be spending about $4,000 to $5,000 on one. You ain't getting a puppy price. You're getting a full-grown dog. You're going to pay the full-grown dog price.
And there's going to be contracts with it, too.
Yes, and you might not have breeding rights to that dog. You might get it spayed. There's certain things in them dogs, if you don't know what you're really looking at, you go there and spend that kind of money, you got to really look at the fine paperwork on the dogs and make sure you're getting exactly what you're paying for.
Yeah. And man, Mr. Devyn, I love that you covered that, guys. And I'm telling you how serious this man is into it. When him and I did some business together, man, I was like, there's no way this guy is that serious about it. He said, yeah, man, I'm going to take a trip down there to Mr. Boudreaux's and get a pup. I said, a pup? You got to be kidding me. He's like, no, it's, 6 weeks or 8 weeks old or something you got?
She was 6 weeks old when I picked her up. I had paid for it before she was even born because I wanted her so bad I couldn't stand it.
Yeah, and that man drove all the way there, which I'm sure has got to be over 10, 11 hours.
One way there is about 6.5 hours.
Okay.
So it's about 12, 13 hours. I'll actually be making another trip down there in about 2 months to go back to Mr. Boudreaux's yard and pick up a couple more puppies from him.
Okay. So, yeah, y'all hear, look at that. Like, I mean, just the time in his life he's taken out to do that. The cost he's putting into them dogs, I don't believe, and I've already mentioned it in previous podcasts, there's multiple people that, if you can get those prices from them people, you might as well do it now. Because I'm going to tell you, when those people are gone, them prices are going to skyrocket on those lines.
Yes, sir.
And people don't understand that.
No, like I said, that's another thing. Like I said, Mr. Boudreaux, he's 91 years old. He ain't going to be around, another 20, 30 years. I wish he would, but it's not going to happen. When he's gone, what's happening to these dogs?
Yep.
There's a lot of men down there that have them and they're doing really good with them. But eventually, if somebody doesn't take up with them and take really good care of the lines, they're all going to disappear.
Yep.
And like I said, I got those pups coming. Like I said, I even got puppies coming out of Kentucky from a kennel that he's probably one of the only kennels in the country that has that blood. I said, no, I want it.
Yeah.
Me and him talk, and that's actually where my females came from. I said, man, I want a pup from another one. I like this female so much, I want another one. Yeah. Well, I'm getting two. I said, there's a lot of money and time that goes into it and researching dogs and finding what you want in a dog. Like, you can want a game-bred dog, but what do you want out of that dog? Are you wanting a lot of mouth? Are you wanting a lot of drive, a lot of gameness? Are you wanting a lot of natural endurance and lung? I mean, what do you want out of the dogs? And not a lot of people put that aspect into it. They just want to get game dog out and know what they're wanting out of the dogs.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, go ahead, sorry.
I'm listening.
Well, that's kind of like I covered previously. You know, I told people, and on my side, experience-wise, is, you know, people have reached out, well, how do I get a Bayou Cajun plot? I'm like, well, reach out to Mr. Mike. You got to send him a deposit. Why would I send a deposit before the pups are here? I said, well, then you're not that serious, because I was serious enough that I had people, and this is about as serious as Mr. Devyn is. I had people reaching out to me, well, you're looking for a Bayou Cajun, right? I said, yep. They're like, well, I got one. It's never done anything, but I'll only take $3,000 for it. I'm like, sold. Like, they didn't, and that is so disrespectful to Mr. Mike. He spoke about that. You know, Mr. Mike sells his pups $400 a pop, puppies. And you got guys out there, they'll buy a puppy, leave it on chain, and kennel rot the shit out of them for a year and a half, 2 years, and turn around and sell them for thousands. But I'm that guy that is that stupid that'll buy them. And it's not me being stupid, it's just that's me loving that line. So, Mr. Devyn, I'm pretty sure you probably do the same stuff if it was the right dog that you were looking for.
Yeah, like I said, I've done some stuff like that. I said, if I seen I don't usually like to buy a lot of dogs, you know, but the way I'm going, you know, I need dogs to build my program. So if I see a pedigree I like, yeah, I'll ask about the dogs, you know, and if it's something I can make happen, should do my best to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, if I can go straight to the source and get a puppy or a dog for about the same price, maybe a little bit cheaper, maybe a little more, I'm just going to go ahead and go to the man who started the line and is the direct source on them dogs.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be watered down, it's going to be messed with, you know. He knows what he's doing. And if you go get a puppy from them, he can almost guarantee what it's going to do by year old.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's impressive. Now, while we're on it, you know, I know you have got to cover this, because even me being fresh into it, I know colors of game dogs, and please cover that in detail and clear all the rumors that people think this is and that is.
Man, I'll put it this way. All right, so game dogs, you know, there's all different colors of game dogs. You know, I'll put it this way. I have black dogs. I have buckskin dogs. I have red dogs. I have brindle dogs. Like I said, I have about every color you imagine. Hell, I have a white dog with brown or red patches on it. You know, and that's the thing, is all different kinds of colors of dogs. But blue is the one color that is not supposed to be there.
I heard there.
Says, oh, it's possible. It's possible. I said, but no, man, it's really not supposed to be.
I heard there is two, though.
The blue comes from the old Staffshire dogs, the American Staffshires.
Yeah.
They're breeding these dogs years and years and years ago. And that's where blue comes into it, you know.
Okay.
And that's not an APPT. That's an American Staffshire, which is a completely different breed of dog. Completely different temperament, completely different body type, you know. And yes, they cross them back to those dogs in the day. But nowadays, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And most of the dogs you're seeing that are blue dogs, you know, are American Staffshires and bullies and all that. That's what they are. There's no... If a man has game dogs, paper game dogs, and he's producing blue dogs every litter, either his papers are hung or he's got his neighbor's dog come and breed his dogs for him.
Yeah.
So it's nothing that happens on the regular. It is a very, very rare occurrence if it happens at all.
Yeah,
Like I said, there's no merles, there's no piebalds, there's none of that. Like I said, the blue, merles, piebalds, you know, hell, even albinoism on the dogs is a disqualification on the registration. Like I said, I have the breed standards whenever I register my kennel, what my dogs have to be built like, what they have to look like. I mean, color, from the way their head shape is, the proportions, everything. And we have to follow those guidelines to even register dogs. So like I said, if you're doing what you're supposed to and you're registering these dogs, you're going to have to follow the guidelines. You're going to get those weird colors everybody's talking about having.
Yeah. Yeah, I did hear, though, I don't know if maybe you could clear the air on this one. This was another guy that I know is reputable, but he swears up and down that there is 2 blue ones out there that have been confirmed.
Well, I've heard some stories. You know, I've heard that there is some. But the thing is, like I said, blue is a dilution of black and gray. You know, and the old men back, you know, in the 1900s when they started breeding these dogs, what they call blue is not the blue we see today.
Okay.
What they called blue was more of a gray color.
Gray, yeah. I figured that's what you were going to say.
It's not the blue that we see and know today.
Okay.
Like I said, I've heard stories about the blue dogs being there, and there's one man, like I said, he's actually kin to the Boudreaux. He supposedly has one. Like I said, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's very, very rare for to see that. Like I said, if you're having blue dogs, and like I said, he's got a yard full of dogs. That's the only one he's had. So that tells you it's not a common thing. If he's breeding dogs every year and having multiple years of puppies, and he's only had one blue dog come out, for whatever reason it came out, that's saying, you know, it's not a common thing to happen.
Yeah. Man, I see. Okay. Now, hunting wise, you know, and to handle it compared to just a random buddy's dog you got off their yard. What does it take some more time and to put a good handle on them, or what are you noticing in the woods wise? Can you kind of cover that?
Well, if you're doing your yard work with it, you're keeping them, you know, like I do. Like I said, I mess with my dogs every single day. You know, so a handle part of it, if I'm walking them, I put them on just not realizing it, you know, just, hey, come here, you know, don't pull on me kind of thing. You know, so it comes a little bit easier if you're walking your dog as you do stuff with your dogs. You know, if I get a dog I'm ready to start hunting, I'll put the tracking collar on the yard, and I'll walk around the yard, you know, on a 30-foot, 40-foot road. You know, I'll let it go as far as I want, and I'll tone it and say, hey, come on back. If you don't come back, I'll give him a light vibrate. If that don't work, light shock until he comes back to me. Yep. And I pet him up, tell him good dog, and we keep walking. And it usually don't take too many times as that for them to pick it up. Because, I mean, these dogs are smart dogs. Yep. You know, they're not like your average dog, you know, to where you go to the pound and pick a dog, hey, he's dumb as a rock. You know, these dogs have some brains behind them. Well, they won't be, you know, bred the way they are for as long as they've been bred. They're very intelligent dogs. Yeah. You know, in the woods, you know, some of them dogs have a switch that it's a little harder to turn off. So some of the dogs you got to take away from a hog and walk back, you know, 30 yards or whatever, so don't grab nothing just being worked up. But that's when another thing comes in. How good of a handle can you put on one without taking all the game dog traits you want out of it? Yeah. And that's a big thing I preach to everybody. Yes, put a handle on it, but don't overdo it and take everything you want from a game dog out of it. Yeah. And that's a big thing I see is everybody puts such a good handle on these dogs. Like, man, it's great, but he doesn't have the fire he should have. He doesn't have the want to he should have because he's too afraid of getting in trouble. Like I said, them dogs, like I said, they're smart. So if they know you're getting in trouble for something, they're going to turn themselves down a little bit and lock themselves up. So, like I said, if you put a handle on a dog, just make sure you don't overdo it and overcorrect that dog to where you're taking all the stuff you want in a game dog out of it. Okay. And that's a hard thing for people to understand.
Now, okay, with that being said, what age are you going to go ahead and introduce them to the woods and maybe, and how do you go about introducing them to their first catch in the woods?
I'll put it like, okay, so what I've had good luck with doing is, you know, I don't use bait pins. I'm using for my pups, my bay dogs, I use for catch dogs, you know. So if I get a dog, you know, whether I get a young dog that's, you know, a year old, 18 months old, or I raise it up to, you know, a year old, I usually prefer to wait till about 14 to 15 months old because a bulldog's teeth are not fully solidified to about 14 to 15, 16 months old. So if you're starting a dog by, you know, a year old, yeah, looks like he's ready, but his mouth is not fully set and you're going to lose a lot of teeth really quick. And that's why most of these dogs, you know, you don't see catch dogs at, you know, 8, 9 years old because they were started so young because you got impatient that by 2 years old, you knocked a tooth out. By 3, you lost another one. At 4, you lost 2 more. So by then, that dog just sitting on your yard because it has no teeth. You know, so I try to wait till mine, you know, about a year and a half old is what my sweet spot is on dog, maybe a little bit younger. But another thing is, these dogs don't physically mature and mentally mature, structure-wise and mentality, until about 18 months to 2 years old. Depends on the dog. Yeah. So if you really want your dogs to understand what's going on and be, you know, real stable dogs and understand everything, you want to wait until they're, a little older than what you think they need to be. Yeah. And that goes a long ways with these dogs. If you wait till that dog is at his peak and he's ready to go and he's fully matured on all fronts, you're going to have a better dog so it'll last you a lot longer than you would if you're starting at a year old.
Okay. You hear people that if a dog ain't catching, by 6 months, especially bulldog wise,
yeah. And hey, I'll put that in this game dog check. If you go to the pound, you go to somebody's backyard and just get some junky bulldog, it might catch, it might not. It might not ever. It might see a hog and scream and run the other way. These game dogs, I've had really good luck. I haven't had one that I've had to cull because it wouldn't catch. And I've had a lot of them. And what I do when I start mine is, I take them straight to the woods with my hatchet bitch. She's 5 years old. She got a half a tooth left. But I'd put her over anything right now.
Yeah.
I take them to the woods because I don't have to put a leash on her. She just walks beside me. If I'm walking a young dog, it's a lot easier to have a mature bulldog there that knows the job and is going to show that young dog the ropes. So I'll put it this way. Back in February, I had a young dog I was working on named Gangster. I started him in the yard doing the rope training and come here shit with him. And then I took him to the woods about 2 weeks later. We bait up a hog. I said, you know what? I hatched it in about 10 seconds. I sent him in behind her. He went in there and he caught. After that, I hunted him another day after that. The next morning, we went and got on a big hog and ended up cutting the hatchet down and putting 27 stitches in her head.
Goodness.
So by that time, Gangster was there, and thankfully he caught with her, and that's what helped her out. He got cut a little bit, but I had to rush her back to the vet. Well, that was a week I was off work from the pipeline at the time. So me and my veterinarian buddy I hunt with, hey, I want to go hunting in the morning. So he said, we'll go. We took that Gangster dog the next morning after being in the woods twice, and we bait up a hog and sent him to that bay by himself, and he was catching. After that, we caught 16 head of hogs with him by himself in 3 weeks. And that's, like I said, from start to finish in the woods, 3 weeks and caught about 20 head of hogs.
Goodness.
And that's exactly what you expect of a game dog. Once it sees what you want to do, they're going to pick it up quick and they're going to do their job. Yeah. You ain't got to worry about that part. The only part you got to worry about is where they're going to catch. But they're going to catch somewhere and they're going to be on that hog regardless. Like I said, just fine-tuning them to where you want them to catch at.
Yeah, you can do that, by the way, guys.
And that's another thing I'll chime in on, too, is, everybody talks about, I like a snout dog, I like an ear dog, I like this. I'll put it this way. A snout dog's a good dog to have, but it's a short-lived dog. It might not get killed, but that snout is so hard, depending on how hard that dog hits anyways. If that dog hits really hard and really fast, he's going to break teeth just hitting the hog before he even catches it. And if that hog's throwing him around, he's probably going to break another tooth just trying to hang on to it. So if you get them on the ear, it's a lot softer material, and it's not going to break their teeth near as easily. It still happens. I've had it happen a bunch, but it's not as hard on a dog's mouth as a snout is.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like to hear that. Now, have you ever ran into the problem with the Game-Bred being a little too gamey, and instead of hitting the hog, they hit one of your dogs?
Man, I have not. I have not had that issue. Like I said, I also do my yard maintenance with my dogs, and I take time in the yard with the dogs before I have to take them to the woods.
Okay.
Like I said, I've heard people having it happen, but I've never experienced it myself. Like I said, I've gone through a lot of them. I've gotten some dogs, fresh out of a box that wouldn't do what they wanted, so I took them.
Yeah.
I ain't never had an issue with one. Never had an issue with a dog grabbing another dog.
That's awesome.
I've seen people have blue dogs and bullies and stuff catch other dogs. But one of my game dogs has never caught another dog.
See, and that's what bothers me all the time is because, you hear about it and the person will take a picture of the dog and they'll be like, yeah, my game dog got a hold of it, man. It got off the lead or something. And I try to be, positive towards everybody, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, that's once again, we all got to stick together. Don't be saying it's a game dog because you can look at it and tell it's not. So you, basing it off your assumption that you own a game dog, just gave the game dog name a really bad name for everybody who's against any type of dog hunting, period, because of your unintelligent post.
Exactly. Like I said, there's yard accidents. Yard accidents do happen.
I mean, I've had them. I've had them.
You know, and like I said, especially these bulldogs, if one gets off, you might come home to a dead dog, but that's just dog nature, you know?
Yep.
One dog got too close to another dog's house. It's food, it's water, it's safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have stuff happen like that. But when you take them to the woods, that should be a problem because they don't own where they're at.
Yeah.
They're just visiting that place.
Yeah.
So the territorial problem with that should be eliminated right there. And that's why I've had good luck with it. You know, like I said, these dogs are territorial in their spots and their places, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And we're like that with our own houses. When you go to someone else's house or you go out in the public, you're not like that. And that's how these dogs are. So if you take them out, you know, in the woods that you're hunting, these dogs shouldn't have an issue with your dogs that they know.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big thing I tell everybody, too. Don't be adding a lot of dogs that them dogs don't know either, because that's where you add problems. If you're hunting with new dogs every week, your dogs don't know them, there might be a problem because two males might not like each other. Two females might not like each other.
And that's that's not just the bulldog world either, by the way.
No, that's with every dog,
Yeah.
you know. But bulldog specifically, you know, if you're hunting with a buddy and he has a bulldog and your bulldogs don't get along, guess what? There's going to be a fight break out eventually.
Yep.
So, but like I said, if you just switch up and hunt different dogs every time you go hunting, you're going to have problems. But if you get these dogs so they know each other and they're used to each other and they're around each other all the time, the problems kind of diminish, you know. And that's a big part of it, too, is not bringing in so many dogs and hunting with a lot of different people. Keep the dogs together that, you know, are going to work good together.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great, I like that. I love that answer. You know, I wish a lot of, you know, when those accidents do happen, I wish people would refrain from posting them on social media and maybe
and
just.
That's a big thing, too, is social media, you know, it's gotten so easy to post something.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody realizes, you know, how much of an effect it has until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, even me, like I hate even posting, you know, videos of my dogs walking with a weighted collar on or a vest, you know, just getting them in shape because of the negative side everybody's seen of it.
Yep.
You know, so when you're already amplifying that with, okay, I've seen dogs, you know, fighting on this. I've seen dogs tearing each other up. I'm posting on Facebook. And that's when all the bad rep comes in right there. You know, and like showing videos of chewed up hogs and, you know, all that, like, it don't do anybody no good. And it just makes it so much harder, and all the men are out trying to keep it going and trying to make sure, you know, we have this for our kids and our kids' kids.
Yeah.
You know, if y'all are going to do that stupid stuff, you might as well just go ahead and throw your phone in the creek and leave it there.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. I just wish people would kind of understand just a little bit more that could hurt us more than it most definitely helps us.
I'm telling you, I've been hunting with a couple of guys that have done stuff like that, and I've told them, I said, you can delete that, or me and you can just go at it right here, right now. Because we're not posting that kind of crap. We're not doing that, because that's not going to do anybody no good.
Yeah, yeah.
And it usually works out for the better, you know. Some people get butt hurt over you telling them what they can and can't do. And guess what? That's the last time I'll ever hunt with you, last time I ever speak to you.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's how it should be. You know, if they don't respect your wishes on your dogs, or you go hunt how you want to hunt, and the way you say, hey, we're not going to post this, we're going to post this, moderate some things. If that don't happen, don't hunt with them again. It's plain and simple.
Yeah. Luckily, I haven't ran into that yet. We're all usually pretty much on the same page who I'm around. And clearly, like, down here, I say we respect our hog population. I know people hate hearing that. Kill them all. Yeah, I get it.
That's a big part up here, too, you know, is we have so many thermal hunters up here, you know, it's hard to, you know, compete with them.
Yes.
You know, we still catch a lot of hogs, but they're wearing out, you know, 30, 40 hogs in a night.
Yep. And
so it's a hard thing to deal with, you know, and a lot of people up here don't bar their hogs either. You know, which a lot of people, I get it. You can't, landowners this, landowners that. But talk to one landowner that'll let you do it.
Yeah.
And he's okay with it. You know, if you have to, you know, do it at his place only, do it at his place only. But make sure there's hogs for the future, or you're going to have places to hunt with no hogs, and your dogs ain't going to get on nothing because you done killed them all.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of that, when I was hunting in Oklahoma, man, the way you mentioned thermal hunters, I know I pissed a lot of people off by saying this, but Oklahoma has a good hog population. Like, they really do.
Yeah, we try to keep that a little secret, but...
Yeah, but the area I was in, man, we ran into 3 thermal hunters on our Saturday night hunt, and it was raining, just for reference. And everybody has, I guess, the locals of that area all have permission on those properties. It was kind of disappointing because we ran into a truck. There's like 5 guys in it, and they had one thermal, and like the dogs were rigging. And we seen them on the dirt roads. I don't know what your laws are. It wasn't me, so I don't care, and I don't know who the guy was. But he laid his gun out the window. And, we're flashing our lights at him and whatnot. We get him to stop, and we're like, hey, man, what is it? Because you could use thermals in that tournament, but I don't even know how they were even seeing, because we tried the whole thermal thing. But I guess the time of year, everything was too tall. We didn't see anything with the thermal, ever. I guess the areas maybe we were hunting, it was just real thick vegetation. We were trying to stand on roofs of trucks, on hoods of trucks, and we couldn't see anything. But somehow they seen this hog out there, and my buddy was trying to hit it with the thermal, and he couldn't see him. So we asked them, and they're like, man, it's a monster. And they let us, they had a real nice thermal where you could see it on their phone. It was a huge hog. And we're like, hey, man, can we run our dogs on it? We're in this tournament. I'm not even kidding you. The guy pulled the trigger right after we asked.
Yeah, a lot of guys are like that.
He's like, no.
Like, there's a guy that hunts one of my best places. I'll be out there hunting, and here he comes driving up and shooting. I'm like, man, what are you gonna do if you shoot one of my dogs? That's a big thing too. Is we catch a lot of hogs that have been thermal shot because of bad shots.
Yeah, and they leave them. Every person I seen up there thermal hunting with a rifle, they left them all dead.
Oh yeah, they don't. Like I said, I'm lucky the guy that, he leaves them dead, but he at least puts them in a pile in one area, so you ain't got to worry about, jumping all across them.
Nope.
That's the one thing I can say about him. He's nice enough to at least put them in a pile, away from where I'm going to be hunting at.
Yeah. No.
It's a big thing, it sucks, but technology is advancing, the world's advancing, and, it's getting harder on the men that, are trying to do it the old ways.
Yeah. And Oklahoma's a little different, too, man. I'm so used to keeping hogs alive. And I didn't, y'all can't transport live hogs.
No, you have to have a license for that.
I didn't know that. Of course we were running dogs, and I was not aware of that. Luckily, my buddy, he ended up telling me, and we took the appropriate measures to take care of that situation. But, I wasn't aware of that. That kind of sucks that y'all can't transport anything live.
Yes, sir.
So that kind of does. So what's in Oklahoma? Real quick, I know this is kind of a little off subject. We're going off somewhere, but just real quick, what is the rule on? Can you catch and release in Oklahoma or no?
You're not supposed to do it anywhere, but like I said, we hunt some public land up here. There's a bunch of guys that have been doing it up here for years and years, and if you go out there hunting that place and you catch one of their bars, there's a unwritten code up here where, all right, we kill one of your bars, we're going to replace it with 2.
Oh, okay.
That's what we do. So if we catch a bar hog and we kill it, if we catch 2 more boars, whether it's that day or in the future, we're going to replace that bar we killed.
Yeah.
And some of these guys even do it with their sows too.
Yeah.
So if we don't catch a sow that's been marked, we'll replace it with 2 more. They said it's just making sure, the odds are there to keep the hogs there.
I'm not even.
Like, you don't want to go in somewhere, a place that a bunch of other guys hunt that've been hunting for years and just completely wipe out their population of hogs they've been, managing.
Yeah.
So if you can do them solid and also help yourself in the future, replace theirs and also get your own, replace another one just so there's extras there.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan on having to take any hog. I'm just not. I like the sport so much that my dogs are working, and I don't know. I know there's no way you could kill them all, but I don't know. I have a different outlook on it. Now, that's just my opinion,
Yes, sir.
When we harvest them plenty at the beginning of the year, my father-in-law and my wife and all of us sit down and how many freaking pounds of sausage did we make last year? I can't even remember, but it was a lot of sausage. And we sit down for a couple weeks, prep it, and by the weekend, we go ahead and stuff everything and get it smoking and whatnot. But that, I guess, it's how you want to hunt. Whatever makes you happy, do it. I don't care. Just let's try to give a better outlook in the hog world and in the community itself. When it comes to posting stuff on social media is where we were going at with that. But
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Devyn, is there anything you'd like to say? We're about halfway through now. You want to give any shout-outs to anybody? Mention anything, ask me any questions, whatever you want to do. Feel free for a minute, and then we'll get on to the next questions.
I'm hard. I don't have very many people, like I said, as far as dog men go that I hunt with, I got, my neighbor, his house was 50 yards away. My buddy Will, I hunt with a lot. He's one of my good buddies, and we hunt together a lot. And then, my vet buddy I hunt with, he takes good care of me. If it don't matter if it's 2 in the morning, he's like in bed asleep. Well, I call him, hey man, I got a dog that's hurt. He said, I'll meet you at the clinic in 5 minutes. And that's one thing I like too, is having a vet that, I hunt with that's there and that, can help me out, figure out problems with these dogs as well. And I don't know if anybody up here is listening, but if you're around Oklahoma, Durant Animal Hospital, Dr. Kemp, that's the man you want to see if you're having dogs that can cut up and tore up on the regular. He's the man to go to on getting dogs fixed up.
Y'all heard him.
And said he's probably one of the most. He's a very smart man. Very, very smart. He's a younger guy. He's not an old man that has his opinions. He's a younger guy that's working in new ways to do this stuff. He specializes in a large animal, but he does dogs, cats, and all that as well. But said we keep him pretty busy around here with the Hog Dogs for the most part. Whenever we get something that's in a bind, we just call him, no matter when it is, and he'll take care of it.
Yeah, and in the hog community, y'all, we all know how hard it is to find a vet that's. Every single one of us know how hard it is to find a vet that's even on your side when it comes to a hog dog getting injured. Their answer is quit hog hunting, quit using dogs.
Yes, sir.
So for him to have access to somebody like that is awesome. So, like you said, it was Durant Animal Hospital, correct?
Yes, sir. Dr. Kason Kemp.
All right, so y'all heard that. If you get in a bind there in Oklahoma, maybe you can reach out to Mr. Devyn, and Devyn can reach out to him for you, or however, just kind of keep that in mind. If you're ever in a bind, I like sharing some of that information because I've been in those situations where I didn't know who to get a hold of, and I've had the luxury of getting in contact with the appropriate parties to be able to take care of the situation. But yeah, man. So you mentioned, and it not ironically, you mentioned your vet. So I mean, of course, we could probably answer already how you're going to answer it. But caring for your dogs, kennel wise, kind of what your setup's like and what you do, worming. And hydration. Can you kind of cover all the basis of medical care and
yes, sir.
Hygiene, I guess.
Yes, sir. So for my dogs, I have a 5-band ground kennel I built. I got a 4x8 that I bought from a buddy when he moved, and I got a 4-bay 5x10s and then a 10x10 as well as my chain spots. I got dogs at all different places, all different size kennels, depending on which dog and how much space they need for keep themselves contained and happy. My mornings usually I don't have to go to work till 8, 9 o'clock. I'm pretty lucky like that. So I can wake up in the morning, come outside, have my coffee, turn the water hose on, spray kennels out, clean kennels, make sure everything's got water, everything's got feed. And then, I'll come home in the evening, do the same thing. But as far as medications and maintenance on dogs, instead of just buying all the dewormers and shit you can get from the stores, I just go straight to my vet. Because I can buy a heartworm and dewormer pill, I can buy my flea and tick pill, and for the entire yard, for 2 months' supply is like $250. It's not that bad. It's worth the money if you're doing it for the right reasons. Like I said, as far as, what I feed, I was feeding some different things, trying to find the best I could feed. And I keep going back to Purina Pro Plan Sport. That is the feed I've been feeding, again, for the last 2 months.
That's top notch.
But on top of that, I also use CPN products. I use their bird tags. That's for, average working dogs, it's high energy or just, regular walking, give them a scoop of that in their feed, and it helps their joints, it helps them recover. I mean, it helps with a lot of things. And especially in the summer months, we have another thing called Power Boost. You mix 1 scoop of that in a gallon of water, and it rehydrates them. And it's a great thing to have. It helps them recover after a long hunt, hard hunt. It helps them get their energy back. I mean, it does a lot of good for them.
And what were those? Sorry, can you say The first one, I don't know if you completely came through on it.
CPN Vertex, you know.
Okay. How do you spell it?
Bertex.
Okay, I thought you were saying Vertex.
Yeah, my accent comes out. I have a hard time pronouncing certain things.
It's all right.
But I can't say certain words at church anymore either because of that. But but yeah, like I said, that stuff is pretty good for your average dog. So I give to young dogs I'm working all the time. You know, if I have a hard hunt, I'll give them a scoop of that, and I'll put some scoop in their water. You know, and then if I'm breeding a bitch, you know, I have her bred. You know, there's a CPN product called Structure. It's a prenatal and multivitamin for lactating and pregnant females and puppies. You know, so I'll give that dog from the time she's bred up until the puppies are weaned. I'll mix it in her food, and then when the puppies are weaned, I'll mix it in their food. I keep them on that for 3, 4, sometimes it depends on the puppies, how they're looking by the time, you know, they hit that age. And it, from so far, the luck I've had with it, it's really, really, really nice stuff. Like I said, it's, I don't know what it is that puts it on them, but my jibs don't lose much weight. They don't look near as bad after having 8, 9 puppies on them. You know, the puppies are thick, they're healthy, they're fat, they're stout, and they're just so much more to them puppies, you know, than most people realize.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to raise dogs, you know, you need to make sure you're setting puppies up for success. You know, and that's a big thing too is, you know, dogs, okay, I'll put it this way. So if you buy dogs, you know, old farmer I used to get show pigs from, he did this test himself to, you know, prove a point. He had a litter of show pigs. He took 2 barrows out of that litter. He fed one just regular Atwood's corn and hog feed. The other, he bought Purina hog feed and rolled oats. When I tell you, them hogs that came market time, there's a 150-pound difference in them hogs. I'm not lying. Like I said,
wow.
And that's another thing people need to realize too is, you know, you're doing the same thing with your dogs and puppies. You know, the size of your dogs throughout the years is going to come through nutrition. You know, generationally, you can grow your dogs, get your dogs bigger, better shape, healthier, just by the things you do as puppies and while they're being, you know, in the womb. So if you do that right and you keep that going, you're going to eventually have better dogs than you started with just based on health-wise. Not even including the breeding side, just health-wise.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, on my kennels, like I said, I bleach and sanitize kennels once a week. You know, my waters, I dump waters out once a week because there's another thing. Everybody talks about algae, you know, and then mosquito larvae in water.
Yeah.
If y'all can get on there and get you some 1-inch chlorine tablets from like a swimming pool, cut them in half and put a half in every dog bucket you have, you won't have any algae, any bugs, nothing in that water until you clean it out and put fresh water in it. Like I said, it's a handy thing to have.
Have you tried the copper trick or the vinegar trick yet?
I've tried all that, and I didn't like it. Like I said, a buddy of mine, you know, told me about these chlorine tablets that he's done for years. Like, man, I'll try it. And he wasn't lying, man. This stuff works really good.
Huh.
And unless you're like me and you have a couple of these cur dogs that I've been raising that like to play in water, they'll see you fill the water and splash it all out.
Yep.
So they don't get that because they're getting fresh water every day anyways.
Yeah.
But for the dogs that don't destroy it, you know, that bucket of water, if it's filled up and you keep it full, you ain't got to change water for 2 weeks if you don't want to.
Yeah. Man,
just because that stuff is just so good. I mean, it works. It really does work good for them.
Huh.
And there's a thing that nobody realizes either is chlorine, you know, in Alaska, they can get parvo shots and stuff. Their sled dogs.
Yeah.
If they get parvo, they gave them chlorine water. And that cures them from parvo. There's a lot of things people don't realize about you can do to help dogs out in the long run with just simple, off-the-wall things.
Huh. I like that. Damn, I ain't heard that one yet, so you covered something right. Come on, keep going. I know you got some more advice like that.
Man, I just trial and error is how I've learned a lot of bad things, a lot of research. It said if I'm not working or I'm out with the kids or I'm out hunting, 9 times out of 10, I'm on the couch or in the house pulling out pedigrees, pulling out papers, figuring out what I want to breed to, how I want to breed it, you know, and then just doing my research on, you know, maintenance on these dogs, conditioning these dogs, nutrition, you know, everything I can think of to make my dogs better and to help my yard out, I'm going to try and do it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I don't take any shortcuts. And I said, that's a big thing, too, I realize. If you want a successful program, you have to spend the money. You have to do it right. don't be scared to lose some money, because you're going to lose money no matter what you do. You can go to the bar and spend $200 a night, or you can, put your money up and take care of your dogs and let them be taken care of.
Yep. I agree.
That's a big thing nobody really takes into consideration. It's, that's too expensive, it's too this. I'm like, well, dude, keep replacing them dogs every year, and you'll understand how it's not that expensive after, 5 dogs later, you could just save the one dog and spend the extra money.
Yep. I can vouch. Each week my wife, I'm not going to get into how much we spend because people will probably be like, what the hell? But each week I don't even know what day I get paid on. What day do it? Thursdays or Fridays? Whatever day I get paid on. She buys one big thing that's going to help the dogs. Whether it's, of course, wormers and stuff like that. But, for example, she got on Jeffers today and ordered some stuff. And if nobody knows what Jeffers is, it's you can order, pretty much anything you need for livestock, dogs, anything. So each week it's like, getting something that will benefit our yard. Whether it's buying all brand new buckets for that week, or whether it's running a brand new water line out because it's going to help us make something quicker, or, just something. So, if you're, I'm not saying you're in the wrong if you don't do that. I'm just saying if you want to, it's so much easier to do it each week and maybe get caught up on it and have an abundance of stuff or stuff already taken care of for future dates, then you really need it and you just financially may not have that money at the time. So if you can stock up on stuff like wraps, while we're on the medical stuff. I've had a lot of dogs with punctured chest cavities. I don't know why, but it just happens. That's why they wear vests. And we bought abundance on Amazon of, I can't even tell you how many wraps we bought, but a huge amount of them, just because, buying them at Tractor Supply, it's $13. When we can spend $13 and get 25 of them off Amazon. But, we might buy $200, $300 worth of wraps, or, you see what I'm saying there.
Another thing on that, while you're talking about puncture wounds, everybody makes fun of me for it, but I carry a box of tampons in my cut bag.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. That soaks up.
You can put them tampons in a puncture wound and seal up pretty damn quick.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
We had a dog get his jugular cut several years ago. Everybody's like, oh, he's going to bless it. Watch this. I pulled that tampon out, stitched what I could back together, and put that tampon there. We made it all the way to the vet and saved that dog with just a tampon.
Yep. Yeah.
It's the simplest things that you don't think are going to matter or make a difference that, hey, they can save that dog's life if you'd have had it.
A sucking chest wound. It's the same thing you learn in the Army. I know not everybody's been in the Army, but I keep Ziploc bags on me. A sucking chest wound can be saved by a Ziploc bag. And people don't understand that. So, yeah, I like that you covered that. Tampon, Ziploc bags. Gosh damn it. What makes her cast real hard? Pickling lime. Just stuff like that. I mean, we have like a little homemade cast thing for dogs, and it's pickling lime. That's a freaking thing you buy at like a gardening section.
Yes.
People wouldn't even think of that now, huh?
It's for pickling.
Oh, it's food. Sorry, shoot, my bad. I was wrong once again. So yeah, I mean, people don't realize there's so many different things out there that help. That you can just keep in your everyday kit instead of just a staple gun. I'm not even big on using staples anymore. I suture. I don't even use staples. I will in an emergency in the woods, and then once I get the dog out, I go ahead and suture the dog.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know if you're against that, or how. What's your
personally, I probably got 150 pack of sutures in the back of my truck, along with 5 staple guns just in case, you know. And I got some like a vet super glue that I got from the vet. I mean, I got all kinds. I got a vet bag, that my vet has helped me put together.
Yeah.
So I got anything like if you know the dog is bleeding out, buy them in case shot, help them get their blood count back up, help them, recover a little, keep alive. You can just get to the vet. I got light. I mean, I got everything you can imagine in my truck just because you never know what you're going to have come up.
Yes, sir.
Even if you get cut or you get hurt, you want to be able to save yourself if something happens.
Yeah. And I like this topic. I mean, I do. Another one, duct tape. I don't know if this will help a lot of people, but if you use duct tape properly and you don't want a dog to scratch a certain spot or bite at a certain spot or push something off or rip it off, clearly some of them can chew it off. But if you appropriately, or if you administer the duct tape properly, it will hold just like a cast will. I've seen dogs try to rip them off. I've seen them try to scratch them off. I've seen them, they get a little bit of chewing on them. But you got to do it the right way. You can't just start wrapping a bunch of lumps. You got to take little pieces off at a time. And I've noticed great things out of duct tape.
And another thing, if you have a dog that chews out stitches or staples on the regular, you get stitched up and say, look, 5 minutes later it's ripped out.
Yep.
Put super glue over it. And they can't chew it up, and it comes off in 2 weeks.
I do got to ask you that. Maybe you'll know what, other than super glue, what is a deterrent to keep them from chewing on those and trying to rip them out?
Man, I haven't yet to find anything else.
Okay.
Like I said, I had all kinds of stuff. I mean, I had a dog I stitched up from her cooch or her back leg. I mean, all over. She'd tear them out. Super glue was the one thing I found she couldn't chew through. And
what kind of super glue are we talking on this?
I just go get crazy glue, whatever. I can get a dollar store 6-pack for $2, and that's what I'll take. So it don't have to be nothing too fancy, just enough where it makes a coating over the sutures and the staples.
And how, I mean, of course, we got the dog down, we sutured it, everything like that. Now,
so I put it on as thick as I can.
Okay.
Make sure it sits there, make sure it dries, and make sure it's thick enough to where it completely covers all that suture and all them staples, or so you can't pick through it.
And you usually, I'm assuming you do the same thing I do. I trim all the hair and shave, I don't shave it. I just use my regular suture scissors.
Like I said, I have an old beard trimmer that's cordless that I charge up. If I have batteries or whatever, I'll take that with me. So if I have a dog that's cut up, and hey, we got a dog that's got his leg cut in half almost, we got to stitch up, I'll bust that beard trimmer out and I'll go to work on it.
Okay.
And I'll sit right there in the creek wherever we're at, and I'll just go ahead and stitch it up. While we're out there, I'll carry that sucker back out 2 miles if I have to.
I love that.
But, like I said, I usually keep my med bag on me with all kinds of stuff just in case something serious comes up.
Yeah. And I mean, vice versa. I do the same thing, but I have a vest for my emergency in the woods, save a dog real quick, and then at the boat or at the vehicle, I keep my my actual med kit, like my emergency bag.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know if you kind of do the same thing, or are you actually tough enough to carry that out there every single time?
I carry my backpack with my med bag is basically a full Garmin tracking bag. You can barely zip up.
Oh, wow.
And I'll put it in the bottom of my backpack, and I'll carry it the whole way. Because like I said, around here, you never know how far you're going to be away from a truck. You never know how bad it's going to be. But eventually, you're going to need it, and you're going to wish you had it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of places, like I said, we can drive the buggies around, get pretty close. But some places, we have to walk into.
Yeah.
It might be 1.5 miles, 2 miles, 3 miles from the truck.
Yeah.
That dog might not make it 500 yards without intention.
Yep.
So if you don't have it, you're screwed. So as long as you have it with you, put it this way, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Yeah. I like that. I really do. Man, you helped cover a lot on that medical side. Maybe when we talk again, we might have to put our minds together before we do another podcast and maybe do an hour or so and just, tell them all the research we've done, because I kind of like where you're going with this. Now, is there anything else you want to cover on that medical side?
Man, there's not much else I can cover. Like I said, I've hit about everything I can think of, everything I've experienced,
Okay.
But other than giving dogs CPR, which I've done 2 or 3 times and saved a couple of them, lost 1 or 2, but I've saved a couple off of them. But that's about it, and that's not nothing pretty either.
How are you even doing that? Are they laid straight on their back, on their side?
Man, I'll pick them up and basically bear hug them and just sit there and pump until something happens.
Oh, wow.
I had a bulldog back in the day hanging himself on the side of a trailer going down the road.
Yeah.
Well, I just happened to see it and catch him. I was lucky enough to bring him back on. And I had another dog, one of my old Kimmer dogs I'd raised up. He was about 1 year old. I tied him back to the truck, came back. I couldn't save him. But, I said I've saved a couple of them that, I got lucky enough to catch in time.
Huh. I like that.
But,
not that the dog passed, but, that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, I ain't heard people be able to do it, but I've done it twice at least. Like I said, I can remember right now. There might have been another time, but I can't remember. Like I said, it's been several years ago.
Wow.
Like I said, I've been lucky not had to have to do that for, like I said, 6-7 years now.
Okay. Now, when you are, when you're out in the woods, with your with any of your dogs, period, what's your hunting method? I mean, of course, I know you're not necessarily letting these dogs go and run to catch, your game-bred dogs, but
No.
are you free casting? Are you running track? What are you doing?
It depends on where I'm at and what dogs I'm hunting.
Okay.
With like my fly dog, for instance. If I had him out in the woods with me, I could drop him from the truck and he'd take off to where he thought the hogs were. And you might not see him until he's there. He might come back and he point in another direction. He's going to head that direction until he finds something. Or he's going to come back and he's send the other way. If I'm hunting young dogs and young pups, I'll try and find some fresh sign or some tracks, dump them on, or I'll let them rig out back to side-by-side or whatever they'll pull their rat. And, but, a big thing a lot of people don't realize either, them young dogs, if you don't have a good dog to start them behind, there's an easy way to get them to cast. Set you up a feeder, set you up a cell camera, and watch when the hogs come in. When them hogs are there the first couple of times and the young pups, dump them right on top of them. When them hogs run, let them go. Don't say a word, don't stop them, nothing. Let them run. You drive down, pick them up where they're picked up at. The next couple of times, wait, 20, 30 minutes. Cast, take them on, they'll pick it up. After several months of that, you can take them and cast them in the woods anywhere you want. They're going to go out and try to find a hog.
Yep.
And that's how I trained my fly dog, is I didn't have another dog at the time that I considered a good enough dog to train him with. So I went behind the house, I set up a feeder, a camera. I had hogs behind my kennels, for 2 years. So it didn't matter if it was the middle of the night, I had to work next morning, hot next day, whatever. I'd be out there a couple hours with them hogs, or I'd let him go. He might be 3 miles away, but I was going to go to him eventually.
Yeah.
And that made him into a hell of a dog. And it's working really good on these pups out of him as well. Like I said, it's something not many people think about. They say, oh, that's too easy on. So, well, you got to make it easy before you can make it hard.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got pups out of him right now. Like I said, they're 10, 11 months old. And like I said, a lot of the places I'm hunting them right now, I'm having to walk them into, just get them used to, this is what we're doing. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And, hey, like I said, I've already caught a few hogs with them. Like I said, by themselves, no grown dog, just me, 2 10-month-old puppies, and a bulldog. Just because, I know what the dogs are capable of, and I've seen what their daddy's capable of, what mama's capable of, and all the dogs out of that is capable of.
Yeah.
So it's not a doubt in my mind I can take them to the woods and go catch a hog. And I've proven it. And it's working really good for me so far.
So when you go into breeding, your, because we talked about your, we didn't necessarily talk about it, but everybody kind of understands how you're going to breed your game dogs. Now, your bay dogs, are you the same type that goes, I look for characteristics and I'm going to breed the best of the best? What's your method there?
Man, I get a bad rep for being a dog peddler or a trainer because I'll get rid of a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
But it's not that they're culls, it's just that they're not up to my standard. For somebody who doesn't understand that, you have to hunt with me and know what kind of caliber that fly dog is.
Yeah.
Because when I was hunting him, if it didn't keep up with him or hunt like him, it wouldn't stay.
Yeah.
I'll give it 6 months or so, And if it didn't do what he did and it kept up with him, it wouldn't stand. I might have 20 dogs at one point. 6 months later, I might have 2. Because I want a certain standard of dog in my yard.
Yeah.
And I could tell everybody, I said, I'll put it this way, on bulldogs, you look for a like a Eli dog, or a Red Boy dog. It's all because that dog was a producer. They were able to produce them better themselves or themselves over and over again. So many hog hunters don't think about it, when it comes to their hounds or their cur dogs.
Yeah.
If you got a dog that's a really good dog, it shouldn't matter what you breed him to. You should get something decent out of that every litter. It might not be all of them, but you should be able to get something decent out of that litter.
Yes. Yeah.
If that dog is really as good as you say he is, you can breed him to a poodle and have something to go find a home.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't like either. I'm like, well, that's why all these dogs here, bulldogs get scattered-bred, you can bring them to a dog completely out of a different line, they ain't done nothing, and still have good bulldogs. No hog hunter really does it where, okay, I want to see how good this dog is. I'm going to bring him to 3 different bitches. I'll bring him to 2 littermate sisters and see which one, if he's a producer or if they are.
Wait, so you'll breed, hold on. You're going that tight? That's pretty much inbred. You're breeding back to his sister?
I'll put it this way. My pups I have right now, them 10-month-olds I'm finding hogs with,
yeah,
their mom is a half-sister to fly.
Okay, I think that's more or less okay, but I thought you were breeding litter mates together.
Well, that's the thing with these bulldogs, too. Everybody says it's frowned upon. Well, some of the best bulldogs in the world are father-daughter, mother-son, brother-sister.
Yeah. And
that's how they breed them. Like I'll put for instance, my LT dog. He's in 5 generations, so that's, I'll think how many dogs that is. I can't even think about it. He is 81.25% Garner's Roscoe, which is the Cardenas dog.
Okay.
That dog is bred. They bred Roscoe to a bitch, and then bred that Roscoe dog to his daughter, and back to the daughter off of that, and then back to the daughter off of that, and they cross them dogs together. We said it's not as bad as people make it sound to be.
I know. I just stay away. Oh, I can't.
Everybody disagrees with it, but if it works for bulldogs, why can't it work for everything else?
I know, and you know,
that's what nobody realizes either. And that's why bloodlines are so hard to keep going, is because nobody really does the science behind it and the research behind it. You know, these game dog men have it more figured out than most people realize between nutrition and breeding.
Yeah.
You know, if you can have a male dog in a pedigree in 4 generations 6 times, that's pretty high. That's pretty high up there.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're still producing good quality dogs without having a lot of defects. Man,
I know.
That's something you need to look into.
And okay, so I'm everybody's got their own opinion, and I'm not going to 100% agree with you on that. But from my own witnessing stuff on my in-law, well, I know people that have, and I see them every single day. You know, they got a couple dogs in their yard that are non-stop breeding, and it's always like brother, sister, mother, daughter, blah, 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 blah. Well, I was over there at the house just bullshitting with them one day, and that puppy, oh my goodness, had to be every bit of freaking, how old would you say that black dog is that I want so bad? Maybe not even 4 months, 5 months right now? She's probably 4 or 5 months right now. And she ran, we were just sitting there bullshitting, and she ran straight over to the hog pen, just started baying the shit out of the hog in the pen.
Yes, sir.
And I said, gosh damn, I said, that dog is so inbred, because, I mean, we're talking lots and lots and lots of times that the litter mates have bred and bred and bred and bred.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, they're breeding every 6 months. Even if they don't come into the same heat cycle, they might breed 3 or 4 times a year. You know, not just one jit, but I'm talking all the pups running around the yard. And when I seen that, I was like, and none of them are coming out like you would think, I'm not sugarcoating shit on this, come out retarded. And they're not retarded. They actually have some intelligence, and they're just absolutely blowing my mind. And I'm like, gosh damn it.
The key to that is what you're really doing.
This ain't my stuff, though. I want to be clear about that.
You're creating a genetic lock with that. So let's say you have a dog that is like, okay, for instance, my fly dog, you know, he has hung the moon in my eyes, and he has shown what he can do, and he can show that he can produce dogs. What you want to do is create a genetic lock. So you'll take him and breed him to something close to him, like a half-sister to him, right? And then you'll take those pups and breed them to a half-brother to the pups. And you'll just keep going back and forth, and you breed them back to fly. You're creating a genetic lock. So you're getting a higher % chance of having a dog closer to how that fly dog is than anything else.
Yeah.
And a big thing is, too, on them litters of dogs, you know, a lot of guys say, you know, you'll have about 40% of the dogs will turn out exactly like their mother, or more traits of their mother. You know?
That's what I've heard a lot.
And they'll say, you know, 30% will turn out closer to their father.
Yeah.
The other 30% will be a perfect mixture of the two. And that's what you're trying to recreate is, you know, just a genetic lock where you get a set characteristic, you get a consistent size, build, and all this out of them dogs. And the only way you can really do that is by line breeding, inbreeding, and doing it the way that the old game dog men have done for centuries and years. You know? I mean, that's the only way I can put it, is creating that genetic lock is going to really set yourself apart from what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, yeah. I just can't convince myself to do it. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Am I opposed to breeding a mother to a son? Not necessarily. I'm not opposed to that. Now, I in the hog world, I don't have enough knowledge on that. In the lab world, I'm going to tell you right now, that is frowned upon. Really, really highly. Now, I mean, you don't think that they'll ever eventually just get too tight? If
there is that part of it, but that's also when you have, like, for instance, my game dogs, I have all my dogs basically tie into the same original blood,
Yeah.
So if I start breeding a certain couple of dogs too tight together, okay, I have another over here, I'll throw that in there as an outcross.
But even
right
though that comes from some of the same shit, though.
Yes, as long as it's not like as close related as 2 or 3 generations.
Okay.
It could be 4 generations back.
Okay.
But you throw that in there, that's a loose line breeding, but it's also an outcross on the dogs with that. So you do that, and you're bringing back the old blood you had in the dogs. So you're also creating that outcross and bringing out that old characteristics you might have lost.
Yeah, that does
and
make
you're also,
sense right there.
Freshen up the blood some too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm not going to sit here and say I agree with it. I'm not going to do that, because if I do that, then that'd make me a liar, and I said I'm not going to lie on this damn podcast. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and you might. I know. I mean, I clearly know how much research you do. So I'm not. And if anybody were to say you're wrong, I want them to send me the proof of the research they've done, because I know.
And that's exactly it. If they want to tell me I'm wrong, I'll send the pedigree on. Like I say, especially LT. Like I said, he's got the same male in there 5 or 6 times in 4 generations.
Yeah.
And you cannot look at that dog and tell me there's anything wrong with that dog, or something's weird with him.
Yeah.
He don't like certain people, which I like certain people anyway, so it doesn't bother me none. But that's about the only thing I think about that dog. That's a flaw, that he doesn't like certain people.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's healthy, he's smart, he's got a hell of a personality to him. He has everything I want in a male dog. Like I said, it's all about how you do it and knowing how to do it.
Yeah. Man, I love it, and I don't get the credit, of course, clearly, because I've only been in it for, coming up on 2 years. And but I'm telling you, research can go a long ways. The way I try to tell people, especially even when they go to argue with me, man, you know how many old-timers have told me, not just old-timers, but people that are actually reputable and well-known in the hog community, and I'm not trying to toot my own stuff, but they're like, Alan, if you literally wouldn't tell people that you've only been hog hunting for just under 2 years, they would think you've been doing this for the past 20, and you're only, 29 years old. So research goes a long ways. If you've ever been on a job site and you've seen a foreman and he's only been there 3 years, but then there's 15 other guys over here on the side that have been there for 30 years and they've never been promoted, or 20 years, that can be the same thing in the dog world. Do you know what I mean? You see where I'm coming at with that?
Oh yeah.
So,
I get it completely.
So if anybody were to degrade somebody and say, oh, well, man, you can't do this because you've only been doing it for this long, don't listen to that. That's why I tell people research goes a long, long, long ways, because it's gotten to the point now where when it comes to lines and bloodlines that I have, of course, Mr. Mike's easily available to call and ask him about it, but I'll have people reach out to me and, hey, this dog with this dog, do you think this is going to be good? And I'm like, damn, this person's been hog hunting for 10 to 15 years and they're asking me now. And I'll never mention names, guys. If you ever ask me any questions, I swear it's 100% confidential between you and I. But when, I've done the research to have the respect to be able to be asked that. And I'm not saying I know everything. That by any means, I do not. I am still new to this. But then people will say, well, did this dog really come out of Bayou-Cajun? And there's sometimes I got to go back and do a little bit more research because I don't see Bayou-Cajun in a certain line. Man, I've screenshotted other papers just to do research through UKC on them. And I've had to go back because UKC only gives you so many generations. And
yes,
I've had to go back further to find out where a dog actually originated from to help somebody out, to tell them if they've been given false information or true information. And man, I'm telling y'all, you could listen to somebody who's only been doing it for 2 months and they might teach you something. Be open ears, man. I promise you, there is not a single person listening to this that has the best hog dogs. I just want to be clear there.
there's a statement that I've heard for years. You know, the man that has the best hog dogs in the country, you've never heard of him because he doesn't have a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
He's up in the mountains somewhere hunting. You never know he even existed.
Yeah.
And every dog on his yard probably smoked everything you ever owned.
Yep. And I mean, it's just and on my side, man, it's absolutely. Like I said, we finally had the one that just got to argue with me about every little thing. I'm like, man, what kind of how do you get pleasure out of arguing with me or saying I'm wrong? But then, you know, when you're right, they got to backpedal and delete their comments, or they're your buddy now, or whatever the case is. It's like, man, no, you were saying I was that stupid guy that's only been doing it for so long. And I just want to clear the air on that, guys. You could be doing it for a very short amount of time and have knowledge in anything, not just hog hunting, but just dogs in general. You can do the research on them. So with that being said, Mr. Devyn, you wanna cover anything on that?
Man, like I said, as long as if you want it bad enough and you understand you have the ability to understand, you know, the science behind it and the genetics and do what you can do, you know, to improve things, go for it. You know, don't be afraid to take some steps without somebody being over your shoulder telling you how to do it. You know, do your research. You know, make sure you can have a game plan going into it.
Yeah.
You know, especially breeding dogs. Don't just breed dogs to breed. You know, have an idea of what you're wanting to create. You know, what you're building your program off of. For instance, you know, my kennels and my program, my line of dogs, here's what I want out of my dog. You know, I want a hard mouth. I want intelligence. I want an off switch. I want a lot of cardio, just natural cardio. And I want some dogs, you know, that, like I said, the off switch and the brain's the biggest things in me. I also want dogs that are very athletic. I don't want no 50, 60-pound dogs that can't do anything. If I have a dog that's 50 pounds, he's going to be able to move. You know, you got to have a game plan of what you want to accomplish before you even start. And that's where a lot of people fail getting dogs and trying to breed dogs. Is you're breeding dogs hoping something works out without knowing what you're wanting to get out of them. Until you know what you're expecting and what you're wanting out of those dogs, you can never achieve your goal.
Yeah. And I like how you put that, because now I kind of found out what I'm wanting and why I want it and for my areas. And that's why, you know, I got an idea in my head. But, man, it's like I get questioned as to why, and they want me to really go into detail. And they're like, well, why wouldn't this dog work, or why wouldn't that one work? And then I start realizing how much research I actually did into what I'm wanting, because I explained to a T as to, well, these legs ain't going to be long enough for this, but this body's just, you know, dense enough for this, and then the head is like this, and the snout's like this, and I'm hoping this makes this. You know, and I explained to him exactly what I'm trying to get out of a dog. And then I'm like, damn, I just put too much thought into that. I mean, why? You know,
that's how I get. You know, I get tunnel vision, and I'll stay up till 3 a.m. just sitting there thinking about things and researching, looking at pedigrees. You know, and so that's one thing I'm lucky to have. You know, as having game dogs, is we have our online pedigree database.
Yeah.
And so I can go back 50 generations, 60 generations on some dog. You know, so I can go back all the way to 1902 and further back on a couple dogs. So I can see exactly where these dogs started at and exactly what went into.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people message me asking about, hey, I have this game dog, you know, how should I breed it? I'm like, or how is it scatterbred? I'm like, you don't know what you're looking at, so I'll take a look at it, you know. And I'll go back, you know, a couple generations and see, okay, that's all, you know, pretty close. You go back one more page back, and there you go. There's 5 different lines of dogs right there.
Yeah.
So originally, yes, they're scatterbred, but now it's become a family of dogs.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I said, originally, a couple of generations back, yes, they've been scatterbred, but now they're just a family. And that's a lot of things people don't understand either. You're not creating a line of dogs. All you're doing is creating your own family of dogs.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. I do. Now, is there any, with that being said, Mr. Devyn, you know, we're coming towards the end. Is there anything else you want to cover on that, or?
Man, pretty much, I'll just go ahead and say, if anybody has any questions or any advice they, you know, need, or anything they need advice on, whatever, about these game dogs, or you want to learn about them, you know, I'm free most of the time, you know. Give me a call, you know, message me. If I don't answer right away, you know, I'll get back to you when I can. But, you know, if you have questions and you're really wanting to learn about them, I'll be as helpful as I possibly can. You know, I'm not afraid to, you know, help somebody out who's wanting to learn. You know, we all got to be a student before we become a master.
Yes.
You know, I'm still a student. I'm still learning, but I got a pretty good idea of what I've figured out in the last, you know, year and a half.
Yes, sir.
So like I said, if anybody has any questions or, you know, need any advice or this or that, just call me, holler at me, and I'll try and help you out as much as I can.
Yes, sir. So, y'all can look him up. We're not done yet. I got a couple more questions, just, so, you know, our final questions that I ask every time. But if anybody wants to look him up, it's Devyn Looney on Facebook. You can reach out to me, and I'll send him your I'm not going to give y'all his phone number. You can message him for that, because I know there's some people that I wouldn't want having my phone number. And I love all you followers. It's not like that. I just don't know who you're giving his number to next.
Yeah, I like my peace and quiet, so I'm my peace.
Yeah, so, you know, guys, like I said, this man, why do you think I got him on here? Because I know he's got the reputable knowledge, and the research he has done is just astronomical. It's the type of research I do. So I had to get him on here. So now, with that being said, Mr. Devyn, we come down to the last couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Number one is your most memorable hunt. Not your favorite, not your saddest, funniest, none of that. I want your most memorable.
Most memorable hunt. It had been a couple years ago. My little boy was just about to be 2 years old. Right before his birthday, we went hunting on the river, you know. And that was when my fly dog was still a young pup. And, you know, I had another older clock dog and another clock cur dog. We took my little boy and a couple of buddies of mine. We went hunting on the river, you know. We baited some hogs, and then dogs broke, whatever. And here comes a hog across the river. You know, I had Fly on the buggy with me. And my buddy Dalton and Bronk decided they were going to head me in the side-by-side and try to shoot me. They missed. And they tried roping it and missed. So I said, screw it. I sent Fly across there. And Fly bait him up about 30 yards in there, so we swam it. You know, Dalton's a little bitty fella. He's probably 5'6", 5'8". And he's up to his neck almost, and I'm barely up to my chest. You know, he's trying to lead bulldogs through it. I'm getting through it, no problem. And then my little boy's on in the side-by-side with Bronk, and as soon as I get back, he says, Daddy, they missed that hole. And he's like, they don't need to shoot no more. And then we got back up in there. We had another hog bait. I'm getting in there. I ended up cutting my finger. I take a little picture of my little boy. He said, Daddy, you got cut. I'm like, yeah, we'll see if you do it later, you know. And we're walking out, and he looks down. And he says, Daddy's a deer antler. I said, really? Yeah, sure enough, there's a deer antler. He said, here, keep it. You know, walking 30 more yards, said, hey, there's another one. And he found a matching set on his first hunt.
That's awesome.
Know? And that was one of my favorite memories, you know, just going on the river with him and having him with me. Said, all my favorite memories hunting, you know, was my little boy, you know. Or I got the bullwhither stuck one time. You know, we're hunting, it was raining, pouring rain, dogs are all over the place. I went across a ditch by a buddy's place, and I buried that bullwhither so bad my little boy got off. Talking to my buddy, he said, hey, Daddy's stuck. He's pissed. I just pissed off at the world at the time. And we got home, as soon as we got back to the house, first thing runs and tells my old lady, Daddy got stuck, and I'm mad. And I said, my little boy, I said, he's my biggest part of why I'm still doing what I'm doing. Like I said, if I take him hunting and your dogs ain't hunting, he's going to tell you to put them back up that they don't want to hunt that day. Try them tomorrow. Like I said, he's any hunt with him is probably a damn good hunt for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do like that. Now, final question of the night, Mr. Devyn. What is something you want everybody to know you for? Positive side.
I want to be known, you know, I don't want to be known for the dogs I have now, the stuff I'm doing now. I want to be known for the legacy I left my son and my daughters. You know, what I built for them, because, you know, you don't ever see the progress you've made with your dog until you're too old to do it. And have your own stuff after 20 years, you know, you're too old to go. You got your kids and grandkids in the future, you know, they're going to be wanting to do it. Hope.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to be known for the legacy I leave my kids, you know, and everything I'm doing is basically to set them up so I never have to struggle to find the stuff I had to do. You know, give them a good foundation what they need to do.
Yeah. I like it. I like that answer. I respect it a lot. That's kind of where I'm at. I've let my kids pick out their dogs already on the yard, and
I said, Knox, my little boy, I said, that's where Fly got his name from at 8 weeks old, was for him.
Yeah.
And that was his dog. I mean, his dog. No matter, we went hunting, he wanted to cast him. He wouldn't let him go. He wanted to take pictures. That was his boy.
That's awesome.
Like I said, and then he come over the day and picked out his own bulldog pup. He said, I want this one, that one. I said, all right, we'll get rid of the rest of it. Don't get rid of these. Like, I'll let him do, he's going to be such a part of it. He's actually part owner of the kennel already.
Yeah.
Like, he's the only beneficiary in the kennel at the moment.
Wow.
Like I said, he'll be 5 in January. I said, that's...
What day in January?
The 31st.
Oh, I'm 27. Damn it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then his sister will be 2 on February 2nd.
Oh, wow. That's pretty tight.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're busy then at that time. Right after Christmas, too.
Yeah, yeah. We got another one that'll be a year old on December 18th. Like I said, I got them all stacked together.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, same here. You know, I wasn't as nice as you. I walked out with my son and my daughter. I said, "Hey, pick out what you want." I mean, the litter's spoken other than what y'all pick, and they wanted every single. I said, "Nope, you got to pick them." Well, my son, he picked a cur dog, and I was like, "Well, damn, whatever." And then my daughter, of course, Bluey's the new thing, I guess now, or it's been a thing. So she picked a plot hound, darkest brindle one. I was so proud of her. And just looks like an old-time plot. You know, he's still young, but she named him Bluey. So, and that's, it just means so much. Them dogs ain't ever going to go nowhere. They could be the trashiest, not leave my feet for the next 15 years. They ain't going nowhere now because that's the first dogs they picked out.
Yes, sir. And that's a big part of it, is keeping them kids in it and making sure they want to do it. You know, they enjoy doing it.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You know, that's what it's all about. You know, that's why I still do it. That's why when I was on the road pipeline, I didn't sell everything because I was like, when I come home, my little boys want to go hunting. I got to make sure there's dogs for the house for him to feed and water and clean.
Yeah.
And go hunt on. Yep. You know, like I said, my little girl, you know, she had some pretty major health scares, so I cut back on some of my hunting dogs.
Yeah.
And like I said, I stepped away for several months, getting my stuff together, making sure she's okay, and then I slowly got some of my stuff back. But, you know, like I said, it's kids come first, you know, and them being with the dogs is going to be a big part of it for them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like it all. I do, sir. I think this was a good one. I'm big about family, too. You know, that's the whole reason I started this podcast. I want my son to come back and everybody's kids involved in this, wives, whatever. And in the future, you know, maybe we're all hunting together one day and they're like, hey, remember how stupid they were when they all talked on a podcast? But,
yeah.
I mean, I can't wait for the shit talking to start from the kids' side. But right now, you know, I'm doing it a lot because, man, there's certain nights I can't go, and that's why I schedule the podcast on the certain nights because of work. I'm not, man, there's no way. By the time I'm done with my 12-hour shift, it's a 14-hour day, 15-hour day, and I got to turn around and be up, you know, in 4 or 5 hours by the time I get home. So, I mean, I'm not risking dropping, especially a plot hound, with 4 hours because that race could turn into 8, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You still got to be responsible, guys, on the other end. Trust me. So, with that being said,
you can't pay that feed bill on no job.
Yes, sir. Yeah, don't think, and trust me, we don't get paid for this podcast. That's why I ask y'all, please support us by subscribing, liking, following. At least tell me, hey, I heard your podcast. That's it. You know, got to keep me motivated. I can't stand getting in there seeing 99.3% are watching it that are not followers. It's like, you know, I'm wasting a lot of my time, and you can't, or not wasting. I enjoy doing it either way, you know. But I'm like, damn, they can't even press like or subscribe or anything. So, guys, just keep me motivated on doing this. I'd appreciate it. Now, that's all I got, Mr. Devyn. Unless you want to say something else, I'm good for tonight.
I'm good. Like I said, I've covered more than I thought I was going to cover. You know, I don't do good speaking to a lot of people, but you know, I've covered a lot more than I thought I would. Oh
yeah, I'm sure you're going to get a lot more questions. I'm going to get some more. So plan on being back on this podcast. I can't even tell y'all a date because I got every single person that's already been on here. There's a bunch of questions they want me to focus on. So just plan in the future. I always keep in touch with you either way, but I'll keep in touch with you and plan another day, and we'll get you back home.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. You know, like I said, most days I'm home by 5, 6 o'clock. So whenever you get ready, you just holler at me.
Yes, sir, I will, and I appreciate you doing this even on such a short notice. You're awesome. Thank you, man.
Oh man, it's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all.
All right, Mr. Devyn, you have a great night, and tell the family we said hi.
You too, buddy.
All right, bye. That wraps up today's journey on Tusks and Tales. From the woods to the kennels and every trail in between, these stories bind us together. Thanks for listening, and until next time, may your dogs run true and your fire never fade.